Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us again. This is Inner City Cultural League After School Program. I'm Miss Kristen, and I have missed talking to you guys. So today I am going to talk to you about gardening. As you can see, my background, I'm outside right now because I got a little surprise for you at the end of this lesson. But for right now, we are going to talk about gardening a little bit. So today I'm going to be gardening some dill. It's kind of like an herb, and dill is really rich in antioxidants. It's a little difficult to understand what antioxidants do. You hear it a lot. Oh, blueberries are high in antioxidants, or you should eat this. It's great for antioxidants. Or sometimes I like to say, I can eat as much chocolate as I want because it's got antioxidants in it. So they're like little molecules that fight off free radicals in your body. If you have too many free radicals, then the levels of free radicals become too high, then it can be linked to multiple illnesses like diabetes or heart disease, cancer, things like that. So you want to have as many antioxidants as in your body as possible so that you can fight off all of those diseases and illnesses. So dill is one thing that's great for that. Dill also helps to produce vitamin C in your body, magnesium, vitamin A. And this is going to be protection against heart disease and, again, cancer. All right. So dill is really good for you. A lot of people have never heard of dill. I'm very new to dill, which is why I wanted to grow that today, because I know that there's some different things you can do with dill. So with the herb, you can put it into sauces. You can put it in pasta. You can use a little bit of salt and vinegar and put dill on cucumbers. If you guys have heard of dill pickles, that's where that comes from. So salt, vinegar, cucumbers, that makes pickles. And if you put that with some dill herb, then you're going to have some dill pickles. So I think I'm going to try that when these herbs come. Let's see, what else can you make with dill? I just Googled what you can do with dill and the kitchen. It's spelled TheKitchen. So there's no E before the N.com. That has a bunch of delicious recipes on there that you can use with dill. I'm pretty sure it has other recipes as well if you guys want to go in there and check that out. So we're going to start with our seeds. These are our dill seeds. You can get seeds. If you don't know where to buy seeds from, you can go to the dollar store. The Dollar Tree has seeds. You can get a couple packs for $1. So it's not even $1 for a bag of seeds, which is amazing to me. Got some seeds. This might look familiar to you guys. If you have eggs in your house, when you're finished with the egg carton, you just cut it up, and then you have these little pockets that you can start your seeds off in. These are really good for starting to sprout your seeds. When you sprout your seeds, that's just planting the seeds, watering them, and keeping them kind of in a sunny area so that they can start to sprout, or they can start to grow like the little green stem thingies up from it. So I've got a little bit, this isn't dirt or soil in here. What's in here is like coconut skin or coconut shell ground up really well. So this is great to start your seeds off with. And if you add a little bit of water, it expands. So you don't even have to use a whole lot. It's like maybe a couple tablespoons in each one of these. So what I'm going to do is, I have some gardening gloves here, but I don't really want to use them because they're going to get in the way for me. So I just take my finger and I poke a couple holes into the soil. Then we're going to sprinkle some seeds. And you don't have to use a whole lot because this is a very small container, but the bigger the container you use, the more seeds you want to use so that you can make sure that enough grows. And then I'm just going to make sure that the seeds are covered with the soil. And I'll hold it up in just a moment for you guys to see. All right. So I kind of covered it and pressed it down just a little bit. I don't know if you guys can see that too well, but there you go. Now, last step is we're going to add water. to this. And again, I said that this that I'm using does expand with water. So we're just going to add a little bit, just a little bit, a few drops to each compartment. You don't want to add too much because you don't want to drown the seeds, but you do want to give them enough water to grow. Just like us, seeds need water, they need sunlight. Unlike us, they need soil or something to grow in. So looks like this has a little hole in it, which is good because it'll help to drain the water. So once this starts to sprout, and again, the sprouting part is when you see the little green thingy springing up from it. When this starts to sprout, then we're going to repot this. When you repot something, you simply just take it from one small pot and put it in a bigger pot so that you can help it to have space to grow. So instead of putting it in a bigger pot, this is our surprise I wanted to show you. Instead of putting it in a bigger pot, we're going to put it in our garden. Look at that. That doesn't quite look like the most well-maintained garden yet. As of right now, plus a couple weeks, this garden is going to be popping, y'all. It's going to be beautiful. I think it was not last year because the pandemic was last year, but the summer before last summer, we had peppers, we had eggplants, we had all types of herbs. We had a little bit of everything in that garden, and it was wonderful. It's going to be wonderful again. So stay tuned. And next time I see you guys, I'm going to be repotting. Well, probably not going to grow by then, but the next time I see you guys, I'm going to have a little lesson out in the garden. What we're going to do with certain weeds out here, certain things are considered weeds. They're actually really good for you though. So like right here we have, let's see if you can see this. Right here we have something called dandelion. Have you guys ever see these little dandelions? Have you guys ever see these outside? These are everywhere and everyone hates them in the yard when they're trying to garden, but these things are actually really good for you, not to eat by themselves. So don't pick up dandelions and just eat them, but they sell them in the stores called dandelion root. Really good for you. So a lot of stuff in your garden may be weeds, it may not be, it may be good for you, it may not be. So stay tuned, and like I said, next time we're gonna go explore that garden a little bit better and see if there's anything in there we can salvage. And if not, we're gonna just get rid of everything and start from scratch. Either way, it's gonna be a lot of fun. So stay tuned. I will see you guys next time.
Welcome to another exciting adventure of Inner City Culture League. We are still virtual due to the guidelines by the CDC. I'm Mr. Williams, and I'm actually here in our community garden. And today I want to talk about some of the plants that are here. I know that Ms. Kristen started talking about them briefly earlier in the week. But before we actually just tear everything up in our garden, I want us to talk about what things we can keep and what things we might get rid of. Because, when we think of weeds, we think of, what they all got to go. But different plants provide nutrients to the soil so that we can grow other things. And some of these things, although we consider them weeds, may be things that we can actually keep for the sake of actually using them to replenish the soil. So let's take a look at what we have first. Give me a moment as I let you see what I can see. Okay, so this is what our garden actually looks like. This is its current state. And I don't imagine many of you have ever seen our garden when it first started. This flower bed we had just planted seeds in, and this was all clear. Okay, but we've neglected a little bit because, like you, we couldn't be here. So our garden got a little messed up. Just some trash has been thrown in by some other people, and some things have just grown as plants and weeds generally do. And again, we're not going to just uproot everything and just throw it away if it provides some nutrients to our soil. So what I've done is I've used an app on my phone, which is called Leaf Snap. And with it, I've actually snapped some different plants that we have growing here, so as to understand a little bit better whether or not it's something we should keep or whether or not it's something that we should get rid of. So give me one moment because I want to bring up that particular app and show what I found so far. And we could talk about whether or not, but hang on, I got to share my screen with you so you can see what I'm looking at. Share. Screen. Okay, so I've never done this on my phone before, so it's a little bit different. And I want to actually share the app that I'm using. And I may or may not be able to do it with this. Oh, I'm out here with the birds. How beautiful. This app. And then I go back. Nope. Okay, so I'll just tell you about something. I don't know if you guys can see what's on my screen right this minute. And this is one of the plants. I'll go over here and I'll show you the plant first. I'll actually show you the plant in person. So there is these types of plants that are growing in here. There's these, okay? And when I was a kid, we used to just take these and just blow them. They were so cute and fun to do. And but that's all they were for. But they actually are a type of dandelion, which actually provide nutrient to the soil. So that's one of those plants that we're not just going to throw away. We're just not going to pick it and throw it away. It's one that we'll probably pick and move to the flower bed itself over here, and we'll kind of grind it into the soil. Okay, this, what you're looking at here, that's an actual tree. That's something that, and I think I looked it up as well. It's a type of, it's a non-edible lettuce, and it doesn't provide nutrients back to the soil. So it's one of those that we will actually uproot and move out of our flower bed. Then I found some neat things over here. These black seeds that you guys can see down here. And I forgot what they're called, but basically they also provide nutrients back to the soil. So there'll be something that we will move into the soil and grind into the soil so that it too can provide nutrients back to the soil. Because note that there are two types of plants. There are plants that take the nutrients from the soil, okay? And then there are plants that add nutrients to the soil. So if you find plants that add nutrients to the soil, you want to add them to your soil. You don't want to just uproot them and move them. You want to add them to the soil. But there are things like corn and different vegetables that we eat that don't provide. They take nutrients from the soil, but we need those too. Something else that's down here, something called false strawberries. You can see they're red just like strawberries. They very difficult to digest. I don't suggest you pick them and eat them unless you're used to doing so. If it's something new for you, don't do it. They can be eaten like regular strawberries, but they're nowhere as sweet as strawberries as we're used to, like the ones we buy from the store. So you don't necessarily want to start your diet eating those because they're not that easy to digest. This here is also a type of lettuce, like the lettuce that we buy in the store, but it does not provide nutrients to the soil. It simply takes nutrients from the soil. So it's a weed, okay? Any plant that doesn't provide anything for us, we consider weeds. And that is a type of weed. It simply takes nutrients from the soil. It doesn't provide us with anything edible, so we consider those weeds. Similar to this tree. This tree is not a weed, but basically the leaves from this tree above fall into our nutrient-rich soil, and they begin to grow. And we end up with trees inside our flower bed. Now, we don't want trees inside the flower bed. The trees are generally going to take up a lot more space, and they're going to absorb a lot more nutrients from the soil. So it's going to be difficult for other things to grow. So we don't want to leave the trees. So we will be uprooting those and taking them out of our soil because we have no need for them. I don't remember what that one is. I'm sorry. But I believe that's a weed, and that'll be something that, again, we will actually uproot from the soil. But the reason I bring you guys out here, because I want you guys to understand that when we put this garden here, the idea was for it to be the community garden. It was the garden for the community, by the community. The community came out and helped us plant, and the community was those who were going to reap the benefits of this garden. That vision hasn't changed. The community is still welcome to help us maintain this garden and to still reap the benefits of this garden. So stick along, hang out with us, come along. If you can't be here to physically help us, support us spiritually by just joining us for our virtual meetings as we work on this garden to make it the beautiful garden that we originally created and had in mind when we came out and put this garden together. I am Mr. Williams. I thank you all for having joined me today. Until next time.
Good afternoon. I thank all of you for joining me. I am Mr. Williams. We are here at Inner City Cultural League After School Program. We are both hybrid and virtual because, as you're all aware of by now, we've gone through the pandemic, and as we come out of it, we are now allowing students to return with us to the building. I have here today with me Mary Holt, and on the other side, I have with me Brandon Dickinson. As we are approaching the end of our after school program, as you guys are approaching the end of your school year, I just thought it would be a great time to talk about or to summarize the leadership skills that we've talked about throughout our after school program. So that's what I'm going to do today. So when we talk about leaders, being a leader is as much about being a leader as it is about being a team player. It's important to be the leader, but it's also, if you're not the leader, to go along with the leader and help him or her make decisions that are good for the entire team. With that being said, it's as good to be a teacher. Teachers understand that it's important to also be able to learn. Thusly, it is as good to be a teacher as it is to be a student. And finally, it is important to be respected, but as it is important to respect others. Okay, basically throughout our leadership skills, we have talked about good decision making. Okay, and they're basically, I know I said 7 when I started this, but they're actually 5. I've condensed them down to 5. Basically, you have to identify the goal. What decision are you trying to make? Make that as concise as you possibly can, making it easier to decide what your goal is. If there's something that's a big goal, maybe you break it down into smaller pieces so that you can move forward. You want to make sure you gather all the relevant information so that you can weigh the different options that you're going to have in response or in accordance with making this particular decision. You want to identify the alternatives and consider the consequences of a particular action. If I do this, what will happen? And if I make this decision, what will happen? And if I make this decision, what will happen? And then you just got to go ahead and make a decision. But that's not the end of it. What you're then going to do is you're going to evaluate whether your decision is meeting your goal. And if it isn't, you go back again and you start all over so that you have a decision that you can move forward and you know whether or not it is the right decision to have made. But you want to avoid certain mishaps. You want to avoid misidentifying the problem. You want to make sure that the goal that you have set, that you're trying to reach, and decisions that you're making are truly based on the goal at hand. Okay? You want to make sure that you choose more than one source. When you talk about the consequences, you want to make sure that you have more than one source of what the consequences of your particular decision could be. But on the other hand, you want to make sure that you don't have too many, because too many sources of information can leave you stagnant, can leave you just standing around just trying to weigh all the different options and never actually get to the point where you make a decision and take action. Okay? You want to get to a point where you actually take action. Okay, and you don't want to overestimate the outcome. You don't want to make it seem like you actually reached your goal on a grand scale, when in actuality, you may be enjoying the decision that you made, but it had nothing to do with the goal you set for yourself on the onset. Hey, welcome. I got some additional people join me today. And most importantly of all, timing. Sometimes it is a good decision to wait, or to go slowly, or take your time about figuring out what your goals are and going through the 5 steps. Sometimes it's better just to go ahead and quickly figure out something to do. Because remember, the final decision is not that you made a decision. You're going to evaluate that decision, and if it isn't meeting your goal, go back to the beginning and start again. So sometimes it's better to slow down and take your time about making a decision. And other times it's okay to make a short-term decision, knowing there's going to be something that you have to adjust over the course of the period of time. Okay, when we talk about good decisions making, obviously we must consider respect. It's important that we respect authority, those people that have authority over us, guardians, police officers, judges. We want to make sure that we respect them. We want to make sure that we respect property, especially when it's someone else's. When you borrow someone's property, you want to give it back in the same condition, if not better than when you borrowed it. Okay? And then you want to have respect for those things that basically don't violate the first 2 rules. What does that mean, Mr. Wynn? That doesn't even make any sense. For example, your baby sister or brother asks you to help them pick up something you watch them knock over accidentally. They have no authority over us whatsoever. They're the young one. We get to tell them what to do. But would it be nice to help them? Yes. It doesn't violate respecting authority, and it doesn't violate respecting property. So it is something that we can do, because that puts us in a better position with them. So it is something that we might want to look into and actually do. Okay? When we talk about respect, when we learn to respect ourselves after learning and then respecting the others that we talked about in the previous slide, that leads to friendships. Okay? Because you know how you wish to be treated. That's what respect is about, knowing how you wish to be treated. And then treating other people in that similar manner. You're going to have people who wish to be your friends. I'm not going to go through everything that we talked about when we talked about our lesson in friendship. You can go back and see those slides and look at the 10 steps towards being a friend and becoming a friend. I'm not going to go through all of them. But basically understand that friendship is a relationship of mutual affection between people. Brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers, mothers and children. Those can be friendships, all of them. A little less when we talk about mothers and children or fathers and children, but you get the idea of what I'm talking about. And it's a stronger form of interpersonal bond than just to say someone is an associate. When someone is your friend, you want to be as happy for their accomplishments as you would be for your own. You want to make them understand that together you two can get through anything. And that kind of leads us into our slides that follow. When we start talking, as I talked about, basically praise your friends. Be proud of their accomplishment, and they in turn will be proud of yours. Like I said, I'm not going to go through all the steps in regards to becoming a friend. If you watch the previous slides that we have taught, you will see the steps to actually being a friend. So I won't go through those. But as a friend, you must know how to properly communicate. Okay? And we talk about the 5 C's of communication. Basically, the first C is be clear. Be clear of what the message is you're trying to deliver. If you're trying to be someone's friend, be clear about that. If you just want to play a game together, again, be clear about that. The second C, be concise. Keep your message short and to the point. Don't ramble on about, well, I was thinking about it and maybe we should, and I don't know, but just get to the point. Can we be friends? Do you want to play a game with me? Okay? Keep it short and concise. You have to be confident about what you're talking about. You need to believe in what you're talking about, because if you believe in what you're talking about, there is the opportunity to convince me to be confident in what you're saying. If you don't believe in what you're talking about, there's very little chance of you convincing me to be convenient about, be confident about what you're saying. Okay? And then you want to be credible. You want to know what you're talking about. Don't talk about a subject that you're unfamiliar with. It's about being friends. Don't talk about the weather if that's not something that you're familiar with at that time. Talk about what you are, know what you're talking about. You're talking about being friends. You can talk about how you would be as someone's friend, and leave it at that. And what you want them to basically, you want to convince the listener to follow through with the action. So you want to be so compelling in what you're talking about being your friend, about how wonderful you can be as a friend, that they're actually going to want to be your friend. And you say, well, you know, I want to be my friend. You know, that's not compelling to me. I'm not going to want to be your friend, because you're not even convinced, you're not confident in what you're saying, and you're not compelling me to want to be your friend. But if you talk about, yo, that's my friend, we can ride our bikes together, you know, we can go to the park and play together. Ooh, that sounds like fun to me. We can jump rope together. That's fun to me. Yes, I want to be your friend. You understand? That's what you want to do. You want to follow through with the 5 C's when you talk about communicating. But when you're talking to someone else, what's the most important thing that we want? We want them to be listening. So we want to make sure that we have our own listening skills in check. You want to make and keep eye contact with the person that you're talking with. Okay? You want to be, so first and foremost, you want to keep eye contact. Secondly, you want to listen. You want to listen to what they're talking about so that you can understand what they're saying. This says use your mouth. Well, you're going to use your mouth to keep it shut while they're talking and waiting your turn to speak. Because we don't want to be rude to someone who's speaking to us, especially when someone is coming to us and asking us to be their friend. If we're being rude while they're talking to us, more than likely, they're not going to want to be our friends. Your hands, you should not be fidgeting and carrying on while someone is talking to you. You should have your hands at your side and be still, so that you can have your focus be about listening to what they're saying. Okay? You don't need to be doing this with your feet, kicking your feet. You want to stand still and talk and listen to what the person who's talking to you. Okay? And obviously, you don't want to be doing all like this while somebody's talking to you. You want to be still. If you need to, sit down. Ask the person to sit down with you so that you can actually have this conversation. Okay? Now, obviously, there are different times for different things. If you happen to be on the monkey bars and someone asks you, do you want to be friends? I don't know that you have to get off the monkey bars and get all the way down to the ground and then stand still to talk about being friends. You were on the monkey bars. You're already on the monkey bars. That's where they decided to broach this particular conversation. So you continue on the monkey bars. But you want to make sure that your heart is in it. You want to make sure your brain and your heart is in it. Your brain is involved in which the fact is taking the time out to understand what the person is asking. Because that's very important. Remember, we talk about good decision making. In order to make a good decision, you have to understand what you're making a decision about. Okay? And then you want your heart to be in it. You want to like what the person is saying. And you should convey that in what you repeat back to them. So if someone says, you want to be my friend? So what you're asking is, do I wish to be your friend? So to make sure you both understand what was said. So the person said, yes, I'm asking, do you wish to be my friend? Yes, I would like to be your friend. Because now you're both answering the same question. You are answering the question that's asked of you. If someone says, do you want to be my friend? Yes, I want to jump rope. That's not what they asked you. They asked you, you want to be friends. So you want to repeat back, you want to be friends. Yes, I want to be friends. Okay, yes, we can be friends. Then you can ask about the jump rope if that's something that you want to do. You got to make sure that you're both communicating on the same level about the same thing. Okay, so and that is involved both how you speak and how well you listen is involved in that. But there's another part that's very, very important. If I'm telling you, yes, I want to go to the park, but I'm shaking my head, yes, I want to go to the park. Yes, I'm looking forward to jumping with your jump rope. Yes. Is my body language telling you the same thing as what my mouth is saying? It isn't. My mouth is saying that I'm in agreement to what you're asking. My body is saying I have no desire to do what you're asking. You want to make sure that your body language conveys your truth. And that is what you wish to say. So if I'm telling you that, you know what, if we were friends, we could ride my bicycle together, or we could ride bicycles because we each have one together, and we can go to the park and we could jump rope or do on the monkey bars, my body is telling you that I like doing those things. Well, I'm going, well, maybe we go to the park, maybe we would have a good time. And I'm doing all this jolly stuff. You're going, which is it? Is he happy about going to the park or not? You're confused. So when you're communicating with someone, it's important to make sure that our body languages convey what we're trying to say. And at the same time, when we listen, it's important as well, because if I'm talking to you and you're going like this, yeah, I hear what you're saying, Mr. Williams. I'm hearing. Your body language doesn't convey that you're listening to me. So I don't think you care. So while I was asking you to be friends, I'm no longer thinking you want to be friends, and I'm simply going to walk away. Okay, so we want to make sure that our body language conveys exactly what we wish to say. And now that we have friends together, we can work together to get to the end of no matter what the situation is together, because we're going to strive together. We're going to persevere. We're going to use our perseverance to get through whatever difficulty may be in the situation in which we're in. I'm going to tell you as your friend that we can do this, or you can do this. If it's something you have to do by yourself, I'm going to remind you that how good you are in so many things, and this is just a simple challenge. You can do this. If we're doing it together, I'm going to pull my part, and together we're going to get it done. And I'm going to remind you of how many different things we've done together and come out on the other side all the better for them. But with perseverance, we also must have resilience. And basically, we don't give up no matter how many times we fall down. We're racing downhill, we fall down, we get back up, we keep going. Neither of us leaves the other one behind. Together, we finish this race. We don't have to finish first. Yes, we would love to, but if we don't, that's okay too. We just don't give up. We persevere. We have resilience. Okay? Resilience, our tough skin, that no matter what happens, we can get through to the other side together. And when we can't be together, I'm here with you in spirit. I'm going to be cheering you on all the way to the end. And you'll do the same for me, because we're friends, and that's what friends do. I am Mr. Williams. That is my presentation for today. I thank all of you for having joined me, no matter where you may be. Let's do this. I am Mr. Williams. I thank you all for having joined me wherever you may be, whether you're actually here in the room with me. I thank those who are actually out there in the virtual world. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. All of the things I talked about are previous lessons that we have talked about here in our after school program throughout the year. If you want more information about those particular languages, please see those particular videos. I'm sorry, I didn't have the opportunity to go through and find the videos for every single one, but you can do that. They're on our YouTube, by all means. Find them. Generally, our lessons are on Mondays and Thursdays. Back then they were. Now we changed things up a little bit. So now our lessons are on Tuesdays and Thursdays with Cyber Streets on Wednesdays. But all of the lessons of the things that I talked about today are previous lessons that you can get more information about if you see our particular videos. I thank you all for joining me. For those who are here for homework help, please stay tuned. Anybody who just came for the lesson, you can sign off for now, and I will see you tomorrow for Cyber Streets. Till then. All right. Good afternoon. Welcome to another exciting adventure of Cyber Streets and Inner City Culture League. I am still Mr. Williams. And today we're just going to kind of recap all of the wonderful stuff that we have done throughout this year. We're going to go all the way back to the beginning and come through to the last things that we've done. Thus, recap. If you've missed any of the things that I talk about, you can see all of our videos on YouTube and get familiar with all the stuff that we have done. But if you really missed all of the stuff that we do that you weren't even here, then you should definitely join us for our summer camp, which will be starting in July, and join us for all the fun things that we do in Cyber Streets. Because in Cyber Streets, we talk about electricity, we talk about robotics, we talk about coding, we talk about 3D printing, all these different types of things. And that's how we started Cyber Streets in the after school program. We started learning things about electricity. We learned about those things which conduct electricity and those things that don't. For example, the human body conducts electricity. Water conducts electricity. Wood conducts electricity. So we learned about those kinds of things. Then we learned about those things that are resistant to the flow of electricity, and we learned about components in electronics we call resistors. They resist, or they offer an opposition to the flow of current in a circuit. We learned about something called capacitance. And basically, we learned about how to control the amount of voltage that flowed in an electrical circuit. We learned about something, we learned how to pass electricity from a medium that's conducting electricity to a medium that's not conducting electricity without the two touching. We call that inductance, and we did that with inductors. And that's basically what they do. Through the use of magnets, we're able to pass electricity from a wire, for example, that's conducting electricity to a wire that isn't, both of them containing magnets. Okay? We also learned about something called impedance. And when we learned about impedance, we learned that there are two different types of electrical circuits. There is what we call direct circuits, which basically means the flow of electricity is constant throughout the flow of the circuit. Okay, we call that DC circuit. And that's usually delivered through batteries. We learned that there's alternating current, which means the current alternates from a high to a low throughout the flow in a particular circuit. And we learned that generally comes from like the wall outlets in our apartments and houses. Okay, we then went on to start to build circuits. We did them with blocks at first, so we understood how to put different things together and what different types of things happened when we did that. And then we went on to actually do that with wires, so we could actually do that in a real life situation. We learned how to read these different types of forces, whether it was resistance, conductance, impedance, and capacitance. We learned how to read those with a voltmeter or multimeter. Okay? After we had done that and we had learned how to put simple circuits together, we went on to build a little bit more challenging circuits. We went on to build robots of different types and to see the different things that we could make them do with a controller. And we learned from that it was coding within our controllers that allowed us to control them, whether it was for them to walk, blink eyes, or to stand up, or just roll across the floor. It took coding. So we went and we learned coding. We learned how to put blocks together in a sequence to make certain actions occur. Okay? Then we learned that if somebody else built the code and they had made a mistake, there is a way for us to look at the code and see what's wrong and fix it. So we learned debugging. One of the things we also learned is something called loops, which allowed us to perform the same action multiple times without having to write that code repeatedly. Okay? We had the opportunity to use, for coding, we used code.org. If you do not have an account on code.org, I recommend that you go to code.org and create an account and come to understand all of the things that I just talked about in regards to coding. Once you've done that, I recommend that you go to Tinkercad, TINKERCAD.com. On Tinkercad, we learned how to design in 3D. So we learned how to create simple things like chess pieces and little frogs and things of that nature. And then we got our own 3D printer. And with it, we got the opportunity to print some of the things that we created in our 3D designs. We all created 3D keychains. Okay? So again, if you hang out with us throughout the summer and continue with us through the after school program come next year, all of these things are things that are possible to do. So I recommend that highly that you do that because we have a lot of great fun. I am Mr. Williams. I thank you all for having joined me today. Hopefully I will see you in summer camp. Till then, you guys take care.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us again. This is Inner City Cultural League After School Program. I am Ms. Kristen, and I'm so excited. Today is our last program for the after school program. We'll be back in just a couple weeks for our summer program, but for right now, we're going to kind of wrap things up. I'm going to talk to you just briefly today about what we've been doing this year with prevention, with gardening. So the last time I was on, I planted some dill seeds and I told you all the health benefits of dill. I talked to you about gardening and different ways to start your seedings. So I'm going to see if I can turn my camera around. Awesome. So these are our beautiful baby dill seeds. So they were doing awesome, but I neglected to water them for a couple days, which of course, if you don't give something its food or nutrients for a couple days, it's definitely going to start looking sad like that. He's like, looking a little, okay, I can talk today. These are looking a little sad, but I added some water. We got them outside. If I would have had them outside, then they probably would have gotten the water that they needed because it's been really rainy here. But I took them inside to try to protect them from the harsh conditions. It's been really sunny, really rainy and windy. So just trying to help them out, but it looks like it hurt them a little bit. But hopefully this water will revive them and help them to grow. They grew really quickly. I'm looking at how much they sprouted. That's awesome. So also, when I left you last time, we were looking at our garden. I don't know if you guys remember what our garden looked like before, but I said I have a surprise for you. And then I showed you our overgrown and unmaintained garden that looked like it was a poor orphan garden. It looked like it didn't have anybody that loved it. And then we had one of our wonderful instructors come out here. Mr. Williams, thank you so much again. And look, y'all, look at what he did. Look at this. If you didn't see it before, this is like a whole 180 transformation. You can actually see the ground. You can actually walk through without tripping over sticks and all types of craziness. So this is the actual garden right here. And this is we have a robotic garden. It's not working right now. It's been a little vandalized. But this is one of the first robotic gardens in the state of Delaware. So we are extremely proud of this. And this garden allows for your plants, vegetables, flowers, whatever you want to garden, to get watered as needed without you having to constantly do the work yourself. So this was an amazing addition to our gardens, but we can't use it right now. Even still, without having something electronically watering for us, we have the capability to do that ourselves. We're going to have some awesome students this summer come out and help us to plant this garden. We did it not last summer because the pandemic was last summer, so we couldn't really do anything. But the summer before that, we had the students out here and they planted so much stuff. You guys, we had eggplants, we had peppers, all different types of flowers. It was so beautiful. We had so much vegetables and flowers that at the end of the summer, we didn't have anything to do with all this stuff. We had to give it away to our participants at the African American Festival. That's coming up again, shameless plug, June 26th, African American Festival. It's our annual one. It's wonderful. You guys will have so much fun if you come out to that. So that's just a peek at our garden, how much better it looks now. I'm so excited about this. So we include gardening and prevention because honestly, when you do gardening, when you do any type of activities, arts and crafts, sports, things like that, it kind of helps you to keep your mind on the positive things in life and stay away from the negative things. If you're bored, if you're not doing much, then you're going to tend to get into trouble. They say idle time is the devil's playground. That means that the more idle time you have, the more time you have to not do anything at all, the more bored you get, the more trouble you can get into. So we try to keep our students engaged. We try to keep them doing fun things and open their eyes up to things that they maybe normally would not have access to. Something that people don't really think about or think that is too difficult is gardening. You guys saw that I put some seeds in just a little tiny bit of dirt, a week or so ago? And look at these baby sprouts growing. Those are going to be some herbs for some wonderful dishes. You can plant anything you want, and depending on the conditions that you plant it in, the temperature, the lighting, the amount of water that they need, you can grow anything that out there that there is. You might have to have special conditions for, say, like pineapples or banana trees or something, but anywhere in the world you can grow anything outside or inside, even if you live in an apartment. So another thing with gardening is that when you're eating good foods, you're eating fresh foods, you're putting good things in your body, you're happier, your endorphin levels are raised. Endorphins are the chemical that's produced that tells your brain that you're happy. If you're eating a lot of things that are not good for you, you're not taking care of your body, you're not exercising, you're not getting fresh air, then your body's going to feel like it's sad, you're depressed, you're down, you're not feeling good about yourself or about life. And that's a lot of times when people start doing drugs and alcohol or smoking cigarettes. They get into these bad habits because they're feeling bad. And these bad habits cause you to feel even worse. So it's not good to try to escape reality or to try to fix things with something negative, which is why we have all of these different ways that you guys can do things other than something that's going to get you in trouble or something that is going to be detrimental to you and your health, your family, and your future. So we did talk about, just to kind of wrap things up, we spoke about Botvin, Dr. Botvin, a lot with our prevention lessons this year. And Dr. Botvin has a life skills book. In the life skills book, he talks about a bunch of different life skills, things that you wouldn't even think have anything at all to do with drug, alcohol, and smoking prevention. Things like your self-image, how you look at yourself, what you see when you look in the mirror, how you feel about yourself every day when you get up. Do you feel like you're a loser? Do you feel like you're the most awesome person on this planet? Hopefully it's the latter. Hopefully you feel like you're the most awesome person on this planet, because you are. We all are. If you don't feel good about yourself, you're not going to be doing good things for your body and for your mind. So that was one way that self-image played into it. We talked about personal goals, how it feels to achieve those goals that you set for yourself. Those little victories are something that's huge. We talked about recording your progress. So when you do something good and positive, you want to always give yourself a pat on the back. You want to remember that, because a lot of times we get down on ourselves if we don't do so great. If we don't necessarily succeed at something, we consider that failure to be a bad thing. We talked about normalizing failure, not feeling bad about failing at something, because it ultimately makes you a better person. It gives you skill. It gives you learning experience. We talked about perseverance, resilience. That's just like keep pushing forward no matter what. No matter what, you have to keep going, because the time is going to pass. It's just, what are you going to be doing with the time? Are you going to be sitting there looking at the ground, feeling bad about yourself, feeling bad about decisions that you made? Are you going to say, you know what, wasn't probably the best time in my life, but I'm going to learn from it and we're going to move forward. We're going to knock this thing called life out. We spoke about making decisions. Making decisions can be very difficult at your age. Making decisions is difficult at my age. Sometimes I don't always make the best decisions, but I always try. The things that help you to make good decisions are writing things down, taking inventory on your decisions, thinking about the consequences of decisions or the rewards of decisions, kind of having a list, like a pros and a cons list of different decisions that you want to make, thinking and planning before you actually make these decisions. We spoke about myths and realities of smoking, what maybe you've heard, what's actually true, what's something that maybe you've never heard before that could be very surprising to you. We talked about the negative effects, long-term and short-term, that smoking can have on your body, your mind, even your emotional state. We've also spoken about alcohol and the same thing, the effects that alcohol will have on you. When you become an adult, of course, you make your own decisions, but as a younger person, you're not fully developed until the age of 25. So your brain's not fully developed. You're still trying to navigate through life, and you want to have the best chance at success that there is. That's why you want to make sure that you're giving yourself that stepping stool. Giving yourself a stepping stool means not putting anything bad into your body. Okay. So I won't say nothing bad. I'm talking about drugs, alcohol, smoking. I'm not talking about Skittles and things like that, because that's not necessarily great for you, but you got to have a little bit of fun sometimes. So yeah, you can have your Skittles. Yes, you can have your Snickers bars, because I still have mine, and I will try to fight somebody if they try to take it from me. But I still try to balance it out with some vegetables and fruits, exercise, a lot of water, sunshine, things like that. Staying away from drugs, alcohol, and cigarettes. We spoke about marijuana and the different myths and realities of marijuana or weed smoke. We spoke about anxiety. We spoke about depression. We spoke about anger issues, and kind of staying in tune with your feelings and emotions, knowing when you're angry, knowing what to do about your anger, how to deal with it. That goes along with communication. We spoke a lot about communication, nonverbal communication, verbal communication, how to get your point across to someone without offending them. If someone is trying to pressure you to do something that you don't want to do, how to make your decision assertive, still respectful, but firm, so that people will take you seriously. We spoke about nonverbal communication. Mr. Williams has done American Sign Language lessons. We've done lessons on nonverbal communication, what it looks like, how you can read different signs, how if you're trying to make a point that people will take you seriously about, then you need to make sure that your body language reflects what it is that you're saying. Along with that, we talked about social skills, how to start a conversation. We talked about friendships, toxic friends, people that may not have your best interest at heart. We spoke about resolving conflicts. If there's ever a situation where you need to resolve a conflict, there are ways to do it that will get you the desired results a lot quicker than other ways. And we spoke about assertiveness, ways to say no to things that you don't want again. And we spoke about confidence, self-esteem. That goes along with assertiveness, because if you're sure in yourself, you can relay that image to others. If you're feeling like, I'm not too confident in myself, I'm not confident in what I stand for or what I'm talking about, it's going to reflect to other people. So you have to maintain that confidence, that self-assurance, that assertiveness. You have to make sure that you're making good decisions, that you know the facts about drugs, alcohol, and tobacco, marijuana. You need to make sure that you have all of these skills in your tool belt. So everything we talked about. And if you missed any of the lessons, you can go back on our YouTube channel and check them out. We got a ton of them. What I just spoke about doesn't even cover like a half of what we spoke about, but I don't want to wrap you guys' head off all day. So I'm going to kind of try to condense it a little bit. If you missed any of those lessons, go back, check it out. All of these things, some of them may seem redundant. It may seem like, oh my gosh, they're always talking about this and they're always talking about that. That's because we care. And we're trying to give you all the tools that you need now and in the future to make the best decisions so that you can have the best life possible. You can have anything you want in life. Whatever it is you want, you can have it, but you have to make sure that you're taking the steps to get to that best life. All right. So, like I said, we'll be back in about 2 weeks. Until then,
I really hope to see you guys this summer. We have some awesome things planned. We're looking forward to seeing you inside the center again so that we don't always have to speak to you through camera. But until then, take care of yourselves, love each other, and love your surroundings. All right, I'll see you later.